so much for joining us, man. I'm glad we getting the rock out. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. How you doing?
Good, good, good. Salute, everybody. This is episode 39 of the After Party. I got B-Boy, legendary. Yo, man of many talents, by the way. I mean, this is dope when artists are primarily known for something and do a bunch of other shit. So we're going to get into that. Man of many talents. Why not? One of the dopest dancers I've ever seen. Fucking, yo. Thank you for rocking with us. Usually we have our other co-host, my co-host, Sec from Save the Hip Hop Culture. He couldn't be with us tonight, so it's just me. But thank you very much, man. I appreciate you.
Of course. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. So let's get it in. Everybody, if you got questions for Why Not, use the questions feature below, and then we can pull them up, and everybody can see them. So check it out, Mike. I always like to start with history because I read somewhere you were like it was jazz musician first before anything.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
true. Right.
So like,
yeah, I played the tenor saxophone since I was 9. Also some percussion and drums and stuff, but the saxophone and actually started off with clarinet first, and then I moved on to saxophone at 9. So yeah.
Do you still play or anything?
I haven't in probably about 15 years, but I think I'm gonna bring it back.
So like what got you into that? Was it like you, I mean, just was picked up an instrument? Was it something you heard, or family said, okay, you're gonna try an instrument or something like that? Or
oh man, I love jazz. I love jazz. Sonny Rollins, you know, Coltrane, Jimmy Castor. I mean, I was already listening to that music when I was younger, you know. Oh. This is prior to even hip hop. I was into that, you know. Yeah. I was very much into jazz first. Yeah.
That's so dope. I love jazz. I don't know enough about it, but like yo, let me ask you a question. Since you fuck with, is there whack jazz? Is there like trash jazz music? Because because whenever I hear jazz, it's usually like I can fuck with this. I mean, I've never heard any jazz. I mean, I'm being serious. Like I've never heard any jazz where it's been like, damn, that's some garbage. Like, is there trash jazz music?
I mean, I think there's always, in all genres, there's, you know, an oversaturation of people trying to do the genre, right? So you're always going to hear music that you're like, nice try, you know. Especially, you know, when it comes down to newer artists. I think, you know, people have some big shoes to fill, so to speak, right? If you're making something that, you know, for example, hip hop, like if you try to compare today's hip hop to the hip hop we heard even in the 90s, I mean, it's like, you know, how can you compare? It's really hard. Plus, on top of that, you know, the production techniques of how people made hip hop back then, it was new, it was exciting, it's different, man. It's different.
So you're still into jazz and listen to it, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got Coltrane on the brain all the time, dude.
Oh, dope. So then would you say, I mean, like, okay, I'm just curious because across genres, it seems like there's been a watering down in a lot of genres, areas. I think it even sometimes in graph. I mean, there's been a lot of watering down of stuff. So do you see that in jazz too? Like where you're like, man, this isn't like what it used to be.
Yeah, I think I see it in everything, man. It's the same thing in the dance. It's no different, man. You know, there's just a lot of things that, you know, for one thing, people get into it because they like it, and that's dope. That's how everyone gets started. But to be in it, to do it for real, to do your history on it, you know, some people are not concerned with the history. And I think if you want to make something that at least speaks close to what was originated, you have to look back first, and then in order to see where you could go with it now. And, you know, a lot of people are not connected to the OGs like that, you know, which I think is mainly important. You know, like when I started dancing, my main thing was to get the attention of my OGs.
That's what it's, yeah, that's what it always was. You know? Now it's, you know, it's almost like you want to distance yourself from the older heads now as much as possible, it seems like, right? Like, I don't know. I get that feeling a lot. It's like, nah, we doing it our way. Like, you know what I mean? We're going to do it like that. It seems like
it's a different time. You know, I think people have changed too, and they're starting to look at things that were done in the 70s and 80s and even 90s at this point. they don't think it was done correctly. You know, the internet came into play, and it changed the mentality of a lot of people. You know, they can get information way too quickly now, and on top of that, we don't really know if a lot of that information is even true.
Especially
So
now, yeah, and you got to check everything now. I check everything before I post it now. I check into every article, everything, like, because it's wild out there right now, man. I want to know, is this true? I mean, you read stuff on the internet. Comic books, said you were big into that. Is that a thing for you? Still into them?
100%. Yeah, I was just hanging up my Spawn 1, man. Spawn, it was my favorite for sure.
Okay.
I saw a lot of comic books when I was younger because my uncles, you know, were collectors of some of that stuff. I mean, they had a lot of old, like, Hulk and Spider-Man comics, a lot of Marvel stuff. But I would say, you know, my time in my generation, I got into Spawn.
Spawn,
you know,
okay.
A lot of Todd McFarlane imagery, I think, was super dope. So, yeah, there was something about that character and the way Todd drew that I just got totally into that comic. But yeah, I collected all the Spawn comics for sure.
When did Spawn come out?
Damn, that's a good question.
I mean, we're just like, even like roughly like early, like, was it early 90s, late 80s?
Early 90s.
Yeah, I'm just trying to just place it. I remember my man was all over that. I was still
92.
92.
Yep.
I was still all in into my X-Men heavy duty. I was Wolverine. Were you into Marvel at all?
I was, yeah. I mean, I was into whatever my uncles had, but, you know, that wasn't something that I eventually collected, because I think when I looked at the old comics, these are when, you know, them shits were like 10 cents, you know. When I looked at the newer, I didn't really like them like I like the older ones, you know. Like, nothing caught my attention the way that Spawn did at that time. So, you know, it's just what spoke to me. So I gravitated towards it.
Do you go to like shows, anything, or like conventions and stuff, or no?
I mean, I've been outside of a few Comic Cons, but I didn't go inside. That shit look crazy to me.
They should go. Crazy. They're fun. Well, a lot of them. I mean, I go to the ones that are more like pop culture, so they have like, you know, have like some of that, a lot of different from everything. It's not just comics, but you know, they're pretty fun. So, so I read that you took a pilgrimage to the Bronx. Like, how'd you transition from jazz musician, tenor sax to you know, future senior VP of Rocksteady?
Yeah. Well, I think hip hop. I was just surrounded by hip hop. You know. I mean, I was born in Passaic, New Jersey, so. You know, there was a lot of graph writers in my area. I eventually moved to Clifton. I went to Clifton High School. And I met a lot of older B-boys from the 80s at that time. There was a guy named Eddie Maldonado, who he owned an actual hair salon called Headspins in Clifton, New Jersey. And I met him and, you know, his whole crew. They called themselves the Hip Hop Crew. They were from New York. 80s crew mainly. So I was just getting information from a lot of people. They were telling me, you gotta go to the Bronx if you really want to learn it for real. Because I started messing around with it in my neighborhood, but, you know, there wasn't too many people that were on a level to teach me more, right?
What year was this roughly? What year was this roughly? I mean, as far as just framing in time.
Well, I could definitely say, like, I started really getting hip to hip hop in 92, and then I started probably breaking around 94, 95.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I met some breakers from the surrounding areas, and that's when I met Rock with Finesse. That was my first crew that I got down with. There was a dude named Dono Mike, and he told me where to go in the Bronx, and then I went to the Point, Hunts Point Community Center.
You just went straight there and like showed up, like, what up?
Yeah, I mean, he showed me how to get there, and then I just went there. Yeah, I mean, my dad's from the Bronx, my mom's from Brooklyn, right? So like New York wasn't something that I didn't
Yeah,
know about. Like we
yeah,
we went there pretty often. Um, so I knew how to get around, but it was a little bit wild for me to go to Hunts Point, my age, by myself,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. But
Especially at that time.
yeah, but I didn't give a
But
fuck. I mean, I wanted to learn anything I can get. I tried to get it, so I went. That's where I went. You
you
know,
show up and you meet who?
first person I seen was Legs.
Crazy. That's
Yeah.
wild.
What's crazy too is that when I started hanging out there, so I would go there pretty often. And a few of the times that I went, there was nobody there. I mean,
You
not.
were going back and forth from Jersey?
Yeah, I was going back and forth. Yeah, there was there wasn't always somebody there. Like like Legs told me about like this class that he started eventually. Which is the first time I heard of something like that, and I actually walked into one, and I was a little bit like nervous to be there because there was a lot of people in the room, a lot of young kids in there breaking and stuff, and he was literally just walking around to each one showing them how to do stuff. Like it wasn't set up like a classroom like that. It was literally just like a room, and everybody was just in there breaking. It was like one big practice kind of thing.
Right.
So he was doing that, I think, once a week, but he was already starting to travel and stuff like that too. So like there were times that I would go, he's not there. Then I ended up like doing some paintings and stuff one day in the other room. Like there's just a lot of stuff going on at that center at that time. So if nobody was in there breaking, I would hang out for a little bit and then I would leave. But then Legs started doing an event called Breakbeats, and that's when things really started to pick up again in terms of like, Rocksteady is really putting the name back into the atmosphere, at that time.
Right,
So
right.
you had Breakbeats, Rocksteady Anniversary already was coming back,
Yep.
so it was a big deal. That's when we were on Chelsea Pier and stuff like that. So it was
Yeah,
big.
yeah, there was a big a big surge 90s, and it was a fun time to be around, like just the tri-state area, like this Rocksteady was like, yeah, it took off again. Like it was like a really dope resurgence as far as
For
just
sure.
like, and then I mean, well, yo, let me ask you a question. Were you, I mean, because we're gonna get, so we know like, the dance scene is small and big at the same time, so we know a lot of the same people. Like, were you a part of the battle against Step Fiends?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, I wasn't.
All right.
No, that yeah, that happened. That was the one at the anniversary you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, I wasn't there. Flowmaster was in that battle. Kenny,
yeah.
Easy Rock was there. Yeah, no. And it's funny because like Easy Rock was one of the people that people used to get us confused.
Oh, word?
Yeah, especially when I got older and I started traveling to the West Coast, and then when I eventually got down to Rocksteady much later. Like I didn't get down to Rocksteady till about maybe 04, 05. But yeah, I was hanging out with them for a while prior to that. But when I started getting over to the West Coast, people thought they were like two Easy Rocks. They're like, I guess we were just the only white people breaking at that time, really.
Easy Rock's fucking retarded, like
Yeah, he's amazing.
crazy, crazy, crazy. All
Mm-hmm.
right, so let's go back. So you're at the, you're going to the center, doing the shows and stuff like that. So like, is Legs taking you under his wing, or I mean, like what's like? I mean, how often are you there? I mean, it's still Jersey's close, but it's still a pain in the ass sometimes to get to. You were going to the Bronx, so
It was
was it like?
totally a pain in the ass, man. I mean, eventually, like I found out that he lived in Jersey City. So, that was a hell of a lot closer. And I definitely was able to like spend more time in Jersey with Legs. And at times he would bring me to the city. I was just actually thinking about this the other day, but like one of the times he came to my house to pick me up to take me to a Moby video. So we did a Moby video together. It's like 90, man, maybe 97, 98, I think.
Oh,
But yeah, the song called Body Rock. It was Me, Legs, Jules, and Smirk. This is before Smirk went to the Army, like a day before he went to the Army. But yeah.
Moby was.
Yeah, so like after we connected, we finally, you know, much more, you know, we got to connect. And then, you know, he would take me sometimes to the city. Sometimes I would just go to Jersey City, see what he's doing there. So, you know, a lot of hangouts, barbecues, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, so then take us fast forward a little bit to you becoming VP. Like, I mean, what was like kind of your responsibilities there, and like when did you do that?
I mean, for the most part, they weren't too clear, you know. You know, Rocksteady has seen a lot of VPs kind of come and go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I think at that time, Legs was trying to bring in just a younger perspective.
Gotcha.
You know, so, and I think he considered me a pretty solid person in that way. And, you know, I did my best to kind of take the crew into like another direction also, I think, because we moving into the future, you know, things are changing.
Right. Right.
You know, we can't do shit the same way we did before. Even breaking was changing, man. I mean, when, you know, Red Bull and all these companies started getting involved with breaking, there was a big shift.
Huge.
You know, as much as I would love to just show up to a jam and get busy, you can't even really do that anymore. These are tournaments now, you know? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's not the same.
We definitely want to talk about that in a minute. So check. So you're in Jersey area still, but you bounced to Philly though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I lived in Philly
I moved to Philly in '99.
So I was I'm partial to. I really want to hear that story. So where'd you move to? In what area?
Right in Center City. I started going to school there, so I went to the Art Institute of Philly.
Yeah, all day. So
I bet. Yeah, I went to the Art Institute, so my dorm was right there, right on Broad and Chestnut.
Oh, okay. So you
Right above the
yeah.
Capitol Grill.
You was getting shit there though. So you, I mean, like, because I saw I read somewhere you actually did a show with because you started working with Ray Harris, right? And then my man Phil, I saw your name and I saw my man said Phil Catino. I used to practice with him.
Oh, that's up. Yeah. Yeah, I started. It's funny how I met Rennie, but I was really just rolling with Legs and Wiggles into Rennie's events because Rennie started doing Legends, right? And you know, when Legs or Wiggles would come to Philly, we would link up, and then I would just be around. So a lot of times Rennie was just like, "Who is this guy? Why is he? Why is he always here?" You know, I would just get into his event for free. I think he was a little bit like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Oh shit.
You know. Yeah, but it was cool. I mean, I eventually introduced myself, and then, you know, I would hang out at another community center over on where Rennie's office was at that time. So this is 34th and Lancashire, right? Which is the CEC.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. I always felt like community centers were dope. I just want to like point that out because that's where I first learned, like early on, how to break. Right, going to the point, and then I go to Philly, and then everybody was practicing at CEC. So I'm just like, this is it. Like this is how you do this. You know what I'm saying? Like this is how people come together and practice moves and shit like that.
Is that good more? Do we see that? That's a good point that you make, man. Because I know a lot of us, some of us grew up in boys and girls clubs or whatever, and different like that. And even me, there was a teen center, played basketball like until like midnight and shit and stuff, you know, stuff going on. So do you see that in the communities? I know you've moved around a bit. Like, do you see that where you know, in any places?
No, not so much. And it's interesting that, you know, we're talking about this right now because, you know, I teach in a university right now.
Right.
Not only that, I also work with the Boys and Girls Club, but you know, I always think that like this kind of like communal way of learning is a better way, right? I don't mind the format of the way people teach classes now, but it's a little foreign to me. I see the value in it, but I also see the value in the way that community works. You know what I mean? So I try to really push that even on a university level. And I think some of the students even are a bit taken back by some of that. But after they start to pick up on it, they're like, oh, okay, this is real.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, man, because I'm very used to like just ciphering out with friends and just practicing and practicing and trying to get the move and your man like, oh, try this or whatever. And that's how we practice. I didn't, like my friends all started to teach and I taught a little bit. I like teaching kids, like younger kids, like 10-year-olds and stuff, but I don't like, especially I got into house as I got in the house. I'm like, how are you teaching house moves? Like it's just kind of weird to me. And so it's strange to see somebody leading like a group of 50 people for me, like this these are the steps because I don't see for me, it's about the heart, right? So, and this is me as a dancer. For me, it's about the heart. And so it's like, I feel like that's where it's coming from. And I feel like you lose a little bit of that with the organized.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean,
so if I'm teaching, I turn around, I face them a lot, or I'll get right next to them and start moving. I dance at them and with them, and you know what I'm saying. So it's different. And I feel like some of that energy I just carry with me because that's just how I learn. That's how I learned, originally. So, yeah, but we should implement that in education, man. I think it's important, no matter what kind it is, because I do music and art too, and it's the same way for me. I'm like, I hear, put a can in your hand, put a paintbrush in your hand, hit these pads, like here, press this key right here, see what it does. You know what I mean? Like that's different.
Right. Now, feel it, like really feel what you're actually doing. You know what I'm saying? Not just because I've seen a lot of people like crush. Like you can tell they've been taking classes when different, whatever, house, hip hop, whatever, freestyle. And I'm like, damn, I can tell they're taking classes, but I'm like, damn, where's your soul at right there? Am I seeing that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you need to vibe in order to bring that out of somebody, right? So I'm playing the music and I'm right in front of you, like, you don't feel this? You don't you don't feel that? You don't feel that? You just keep doing that until it eventually just like rubs off on them, so to speak, So
right.
That's the way, I think, for sure.
Yeah, this is the way. Yo, so there's another brother that you might know that I just met recently. He's from Philly, Raphael.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
yep.
He's here now. We're supposed to catch up tomorrow night, actually, rock out. So
dope.
Yeah. So he's
so Raph got me introduced to the CEC because when I just moved to Philly, I wasn't breaking for maybe a good year when I started school, and then I think I looked in the Philly in the city paper, and I saw on the back of the paper like a breaking class, and I was like, oh shit, let me go check this out. And that's how I got to the CEC. Had the address on it. And then I see Raph when I go inside there, and he was teaching a class, and I'm like, what's this shit? This is crazy. And then there was an open session after that, and that's how I met everybody. But I already knew a lot of the Philly dancers prior to that. I never met Raph before. I think he was touring with Rennie by the time I started getting hip to other Philly dancers.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah, it's a small ass world, man.
Really, like you said, dance is big but small at the same time.
It's crazy. Like either through the clubs or through like performing or whatever you're gonna like, you know what I'm saying? Like meet the cat. So yeah, your style is crazy to me. Like and the top rock is fucking bananas. Like is there a source for your style? Because I see some, like, I'm gonna ask you after, but like I see some other influences there in your steez. Like, so where did that come from, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just from my life experience, even starting in the world of jazz, like tap was a big influence on me, even though I don't tap. A lot of my friends are tap dancers, and I've never even put shoes on. So in a lot of ways, when I'm breaking, I'm thinking rhythmically, so my feet are moving in a way that like maybe a tap dancer would, I think, But gravitated more towards breaking when I saw it, because it just spoke to me. Like, that music spoke to me more. Like, I wanted to dance and move to that. I didn't necessarily want to move to jazz. I wanted to play jazz.
Right.
But when I heard, like, you know, Credible Bongo Band, when I heard Mongo Santa Maria, I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, that. I had to move to that, you know? So my interpretation of that was, in a way, I'm imitating jazz, but then I'm also doing hustle steps that my mom used to do at home. So, you know, she's, like I said, she's from Brooklyn, so her era was the hustle. She did that dance. Yeah, and just hit, like, the interest of being a young kid and seeing hip hop, man. Like,
Did you
you know, it was
get
the
into
shit.
at all?
Say again?
Did you get into any other styles of dance at all, as far as like really getting into anything else?
Well, yeah, I think mainly because of Wiggles, I would pop, you know, a lot of waving and popping and stuff like that. Like, you know, I wasn't really sure what I was doing, you know, but New York had that, you know, boogie boy style, especially at that time. So a lot of people were mixing, popping, and breaking. And, you know, I still do that to this day, man. I do that. I do a lot of, you know, Webo steps, because I've seen a lot of that coming up too, you know. So there's just different, you know, underlying things in there that I think if you weren't around in the 90s, you probably wouldn't even know what I'm talking about, you know.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, teaching, shows, battling. Like, what do you get from each, and which do you like the most?
Oh, shit. I mean, battling is the most B-boy thing you could do, you know. I think that, like, when you battle, that's when you really start to understand the dance, like, completely, you know. And I don't see breaking outside of it being a battle dance. I see the potential of it in performance. I see the potential of it even in the theater, you know. I think it's an incredible movement for an artistic expression, but it's a battle dance for real, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think if, you know, people are going to be using parts of this dance, they got to understand that. Like, you know, if you want to understand the full essence of it, you got to battle. You have to. I do like doing shows, but I think there's a certain flavor of show that I don't see very much that I used to see, which is like a lot of the early Rocksteady shows. I thought they were dope, you know. By the way, we are restaging Jam on the Groove in October, so I'll be in that show in New York, Jam on the Groove, October 3rd and 4th.
Oh, dope. Thanks for dropping that.
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy. For all y'all who don't know, Jam on the Groove was one of the first hip hop theater dance shows. Right, that was Ghetto Original Productions and Rhythm Technicians and Rocksteady Crew. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they like, even teaching class, like, that's something that I had to kind of also learn. I mean, I went to college for computer science, so, like, the way that I saw, you know, that being taught in a classroom setting helped me to learn how to teach dance in a classroom setting in that way, you know. I like that, but like I said earlier, like, at the same time, I still bring this kind of community center vibe to my class, so I have a little bit of both in terms of my approach. I do think dance education is important these days, because it's like, we don't have, you know, the community like we used to anymore. So in order for this dance to continue, either it has to move into different spaces, you know, or we try to bring back something that I don't even know society is even into anymore. You know, I don't even know. Like there are places that I go to where it's still kind of thriving in that way, but they're doing different dances now. They're not really doing breaking like that, you know? Like, when I look at the light feet community, for example, I'm like, damn, it kind of feels like breaking, you know, the way it used to be, you know? And a lot of them, they're just trying to get busy and battle each other. It's dope. You know, breaking has gotten to this platform now where there's a lot of money involved. It's different, man. That shit changed a lot of things.
Yeah, it's definitely wild, man. I mean, like, what's your take on the battle scene? I know you've done some judging and stuff like that. And I came up during a time like the battles were over girls, over who was nice or who wasn't nice. And and when I started seeing, I mean, I'm 47, so when I date myself, but when I started seeing like organized battles with judges, and it was like weird. And I did my first battle at like 37, like back in Philly. Just it was like an all styles thing, but it was just it was just strange. And what I've seen a lot, and I'm hearing this a lot within the breaking community, is that it seems like the judges kind of are really partial to certain people, and I've just seen a lot of weird shit. So, like, what's your take on the battle scene, especially now?
My gosh, I got a lot to say about this shit. I mean, they're tournaments, you know. They're not battles; they're tournaments.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
And I think we should, you know, we should know that that's what they are now. They're not really battles, right? They're one rounders in a lot of ways. You're doing one round until you make it to the finals. Like that's not. You have now a different strategy, and because of that, it's changing the way the dance looks, right? Because like people are literally now training or practicing to be able to just blow up in one round. There's no more like, you know, snipering. There's no seek and destroy. There's no pulling anybody into deep waters. It doesn't happen that way, you know?
Wow.
So that strategy is out the window.
Great point. Because you don't have the time now. You don't have the time. So, and I've heard people be like, yo, I'm practicing for this round. Like the wildest shit. Like,
bro, it's crazy. And you got to be so on point. So, you know, the freestyle aspect of it is now at this point taking a chance. You're taking a chance if you start freestyling.
Damn. That's
because you have to be.
I know how to. That's the only thing. I didn't have no like, yo, like me and you have beef. You from Passaic and I'm saying I'm from whatever, Parsippany, whatever the fuck, and we catch up somewhere in North Jersey. And it set off, like I wasn't like, yo, I might see Why Not tonight. So, right? I don't know. I mean, am I wrong?
Right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't happen like that no more. I mean, you know, now it's like, you know, they might see each other in the tournament or whatever. And then sometimes, you know, battles do happen. And a lot of times because they don't like the decision of what happened in the tournament, you know. And that's fine, but even that's like, you know, it's whatever. It's not the same. Like there's no real energy around why even people are battling, you know. It's just they're just trying to win. They're trying to win money and stuff like that. You know, more power to them, but at the same time, like I think they're seriously missing out on what this dance is and what it does, what it could teach you, you know, the lessons, stuff like that. But yeah, it's just different now, man. Like they're on something else. They're on something else.
Do you just judge now? I mean, were you ever in them, any of those?
Yeah, I still battle, you know, from time to time. It depends, man. Like I don't think I'm a person to do the tournament style breaking. Like I don't, the way that I dance may not work there, you know. Even though I've done many battles, I make it to the finals most of the time. If I'm not winning, I'm in the finals for the most part. But it's not, you know, I don't enjoy myself doing those, man. I really don't. The stopping, bro, you go up, right when you start getting into something, you stop because you're done. Then you move on to the next round. The next round may not be for another 30 minutes. Then you got to go out, do your shit again. Then you got to stop. Then your next round may not be for another 30. I can't keep doing that. I'm 42 now, bro. Like I need to, once I get my engines going, like I'm going until I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't do the start and stop shit. Like it doesn't work for my body like that no more.
Yeah,
So.
no. And again, it takes away from, to me, it takes away from the organic nature of the dance. I mean, of like you just starting to get loose, right? And probably during that time you're sitting out, you might be hearing some fire ass tracks or something. And you want to go get fucking busy. You might even want to go outside, but you can't even expend your energy or whatever because you know. So there's a lot of shit that goes into it. So
yeah, and then sometimes when I hear a track that's dope, I start getting down. I'm dancing by myself. There's like people are watching the battles. So I'm over here getting busy on the side by myself. I'm just like, man, it's whack, man. I'm out of here.
yeah, it's different. I mean, and we, you know, as us being older, I mean, things have changed. I mean, I will say this though, and from what I've seen, like some of the stuff that people are pulling out though, and like move wise, is like pretty
It's incredible.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't know people
No,
could
it's dope.
this. But at the same time, I see less dancing though.
Right. No, yeah, the move, you know, aspect, the technical aspect of the dance has definitely evolved. There's no doubt about that, you know. But, you know, the feeling, the interpretation of the music, you know, where you can actually even see a person's character is rare now, man. You don't get that very much.
Right. So yeah, real quick, because I want to cover this before we get out of here. There's a lot. You do a lot of different stuff, and at least from what I read, I mean, it was like it said, you know, typography, architecture, music. I mean, let's just go through the list. I mean, what are some of the other things? I mean, design knives, like, so. What are some of the other things you like to do? Because, like I said, I always think it's dope when, you know, we may have an artist pigeonholed as, oh, he's this, you know. And I didn't know about all these things until I was researching for the interview. So, what are some of the other things you're into, man, that really, like, you know, drive you other than just rocking? Because it seems like there's a bunch of shit.
We could do a show and tell.
Let's do it.
Well, just like some of the stuff you named off, I don't know if people really see some of this stuff if they don't check my website and shit like that.
Right.
You know, one of the first things I made was one of these right here.
I think I saw that on it. Did you post that on Instagram?
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yo.
So, you know, graffiti style arrows as weapons, you know. I mean, this is what Ramelzi was talking about back in the day already. And, you know, a lot of the philosophies and the theories that a lot of writers were doing in the early 70s, I mean, the late 70s and the 80s, you know, I'm trying to bring those to life.
Damn.
You know, I mean, they were dope. When you know, Ramelzi is one of those people, for example, that had this idea of how, like, you know, graffiti is weaponry basically, and the arrow is that. The arrow is protecting itself. It's also, you know, attacking these other letters that are, you know, our usual language that we see every day. You know, and then here I got my chair, so that's in the studio, right? A lot of this comes from, you know, some of my first teachers, which were Kel First and then Mayor 139. They were talking about bringing graffiti off the wall, right? So this is like ways of doing sculpture and also things that can turn into either furniture or something else, right?
Wait, Mayor 139. That's out west, CBS crew, right? Is that the same?
No, that's New York. Yeah, that's those are the Rodriguez brothers, man. They're from CIA crew, New York.
No, I'm thinking Mayor. I'm sorry, MEAR. My bad.
Yeah, Mare.
M-A-R-E. Yeah. Is that the same Mayor from
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Word.
Yep. Same guy. So I met his older brother around the same time I met Legs, because he was dating someone that was going to that hair salon that I used to hang out at. Small world.
Yeah.
Music wise, I'm doing a lot of this stuff. So I'm getting into modular synthesis a lot these past like 6 years.
Okay.
So this is all like, you know, shit from like how they used to make music in the 80s, man, where it's like components of a synthesizer and you have to patch up every part of the synth, right?
Yep.
So you got your sequencers, your voices, your filters, you got to patch them all in order to make it happen.
Yep.
So I do a lot of shit like that.
Yeah, that sound was a dope sound back then.
Yeah, and what's cool about it now is that a lot of this stuff is I don't want to say it's accessible. It's expensive as fuck, but you know, there's a lot of manufacturers now that are making these smaller modules that you can purchase. Back in the day, to get one synthesizer would cost you like 15 grand. You know, now a lot of those older synths that we're looking at, you know, the prices fluctuate, but you can get one for like, you know, two grand, 3 grand. Now you can build your own in this modular way. It's really expensive, but it's possible now. Before, you had to know someone who knew the people who made the machines, you know.
So I have a lot of interest as well, and so my question to you is, how do you divvy up your time? How do you do you let's say, fuck with the knife stuff, I'm gonna do this project, and this is what I focus on for now? Is the dance stuff constant, which I'm sure, I don't know what's paying the bills or whatever? Like, how do you decide where to spend your energy?
I just go with my whatever signal is reaching me first. The thing is, I have ideas for like 10 years.
Yeah.
I have ideas that are probably going to go past my own lifetime, but I have them all drawn out, written down, you know. And then depending on where I'm at financially, or maybe if I just happen to meet a resource that can help me, you know, make my vision happen, then I make that happen. And I say, oh, this is perfect. This is the moment for the knife situation. This is the moment for this thing, you know. So I got all these ideas. It's just a matter of finding out how and when. And then when the opportunity shows up, I do it, you know.
Currently, like dance wise, what are you doing, and what are you doing that's not dance? Like, what are the projects that you're working on right now?
Well, I'm realizing that at my age now, you know, I've seen a couple of generations of breaking at this point, right? Especially after COVID, I feel like a lot of the breaking scene is looking for some sort of, I don't know, mentorship or something like that, right? So at this point, and especially not having any affiliations at this time, right? So I used to be the vice president of Rocksteady about 2 years ago. I also recognized that after I left that, I seemed to be more accessible to people. So what I'm trying to do is just be of service to the breaking community in any way that I can be. You know, I've had a unique experience from, you know, New York to Philly, traveled the world, did all the things, did all the battles, stuff like that. So I think I have something to offer in that way. So what I'm trying to do is make myself available, and also, you know, meet the communities that might want to, you know, hear me out or whatever. I mean, some people have been reaching out to me. It's been going like that for a while now. So that's one thing. The other thing is I teach at the university. I teach dance at the university. One of my main things at this point now is if hip hop is going to be moving into the space of the university, which hip hop music has, but if hip hop dance is, it has to be done properly. It also has to be treated the same way that they would treat something like ballet or modern.
Correct.
That's been, I would say, my mission for the past 5 years, because I've been able to teach in the university on a full-time level. So, you know, moving hip hop into a major dance course is something that I've been trying to do. At the same time, I'm also a little bit nervous about that, because once that starts happening, you have a lot of people that are going to move into that type of position that probably shouldn't be there. So, you know, I'm not trying to be a gatekeeper, but at the same time, you know, I'm one of very few dancers who have a high level degree, so I'm able to get into that door. So I'm just playing my part the best way that I can, and introduce, you know, everyone to what this is, man. And hopefully there comes, you know, an understanding and knowledge with that. You know, it's not just about teaching breaking to people who probably don't deserve to know it. It's about them knowing where it comes from, how to properly do it, and that they're not really breaking when they do it. That's important to me.
Right. No, I think it's dope to share that with people, because a lot of people don't know, man. And the history and the background of this dance is more, I'd say, more important than the dance itself, almost. I mean, you got to know, like, it's got to know. Like, you can't, like you said, it's a battle. You got to know how to battle. Like, that's how you go out. Like, it's about stepping to somebody, man. I mean, so,
Yeah.
you know,
and we bring some of that into my class, you know. We bring some of that in there, and they battle each other, but I also expose them to events that are happening now in the battle scene. I'm like, y'all have to come see this, because whatever we just did in class, I guarantee you're not going to do this in this building that we go into now. You know, and some of them might. You never know. There's always, you know, there's going to be those few that really want to go there, that really want to go that far. And for those that don't, that's okay too. But I just want them to know, you know, the more knowledge, the better. Knowing what's for you and what's not for you is important, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Taking them on the field trip. And
yeah.
outside of the dance, I mean, I know you're working on something else.
Yeah. I got some more things in the works in terms of architecture. So I'm building a couple of interior spaces right now. Can't really talk about them yet, but I'll post them when I'm done, you know. And I'm also painting a lot now, you know, which is great. I got a bunch of canvases in my studio right now. I'm gonna start knocking these out as fast as I can. But you know, to your point, it's all about time for me at right now. You know, I teach full time in university. I'm still traveling and breaking. Like, bro, I don't know how I do half the shit that I get done. Maybe because I'm not married or have kids. That could
I was just listen. That stop right there. I mean, we don't. Yeah, I welcome to my because it's different. So
I bet.
So that explains it. I mean, I shouldn't even ask you. I would retract. I'll edit this out. I shouldn't. Yeah, you don't have kids and you're not married, and that's congratulations.
Yeah.
And I'll say piece of advice in 42: don't have them motherfuckers. Like,
wow. Okay, I've been hearing this a lot. We'll see.
Yeah. It's coast this. Ride it out, B. Ride out. Ride it out. Don't go back in. Like, you're out of the fucking. Anyway, yeah, marital advice too. So we do it all here. No, that's dope, man. And it is dope. Just you being in all different types of shit. Real quick question before we get out of here. B-Boy in the Olympics.
Right.
Where you at?
So the same energy that you have right now about that, right, was the same way we felt when Red Bull first started getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like they're almost a part of the movement.
It's true.
Right? When I started even going to school, a lot of my peers were having that same type of energy too. And I understand it, you know. The thing is, when these things happen and none of us are involved, that's bad.
Right.
That's really bad.
Are we involved?
We are. To a certain extent, you know. The thing is, these institutions, even the institution I work for, are way bigger than me. It's not like I'm going to change the institution.
Right.
I don't think that's possible. But the experience of the people that are at least in my classes under my supervision is different, you know? So for the most part, a lot of people are going to make money on this shit, and it's probably not even going to go into LA, right? Because we have Paris in 2024, we got LA in 2028. There's a strong possibility after LA it's done.
Mm.
You know, um, which is also something that, you know, we've spent a lot of energy and time putting too much value on the fact that it is going to be in the Olympics,
Yeah.
which it is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, bro, the circuit that we've built in the past 20 years is way more impressive to me, man.
Correct.
Bro,
Facts.
I've been traveling around the world just because there's other B-boys around the world. Like, that's crazy.
Right. All over. Yeah,
Yeah.
I met a B-boy here from Honduras. And he learned on YouTube or whatever, but like I mean he was really into like learning about like just everything. He was just doing crazy stuff, you know, like so yeah, that's yeah, that's
Bro,
more
that shit's
yeah,
crazy. In the early 2000s, just because I had Facebook, somebody from another country would message me and be like, yo, we want to bring you here. Next thing you know, I'm on a plane. Like, what?
that's crazy.
I don't think people even understand like the like a lot of the B-boys today, like when I see them, you know, at these events, they have no fucking idea, man. You know, we weren't traveling for events like that.
Right,
And then,
right.
and all of a sudden we built this kind of industry from everybody who just enjoyed breaking and came together and started sharing each other's funds and just was like, I'm gonna bring you to this place. And then, oh, I like what you do. I'm gonna bring you out here. Can you teach over here? I started going to countries that nobody's even ever been to teach this dance.
Right,
Like
right.
that's crazy. That's mind blowing, man. Like to me, that's like the Olympics. That shit only even happens every 4 years. Plus, who's gonna go? Two people? That's it. Like, who cares? You know, it's whatever it is. You know, some people's dream. That's great, but that's also just a lane for very few. It's not everybody. To me, the real scene is us, man. Like when we come together and we go to these countries and dance and like that. That's what it is now. It's international, man. It's international.
No,
So
it's talk. I mean, yeah. Hopefully, some of the right people are involved. I mean, I've heard some are, you know, and hopefully it does, you know. But
it'll do this, you know.
that's a
It'll
good.
be cool for a second, and then it'll be whack. I mean, you know, we can't expect great things coming from the Olympics. Like I already know the stage, all that's gonna feel weird. It's not gonna feel right, you know.
Plus, I mean, the limit of, I mean, how the team can only be so big. I mean, out of all the B-boys in the United States, breakers in the United States, like, what do you have a team of 6, 12, like 12, like, I mean, I don't know.
Barely, bro. We have four maybe,
Wow.
you know, and that's nothing, man. And you know, whoever goes, good luck to them, and that's great. And you know,
You
maybe
four,
we'll start training young kids to be in the Olympics. Cool, you know, but at the same time, mm,
four.
yeah, maybe four, I think.
Damn. I was like really ambitious. I didn't. Okay, well, yeah. Yeah. So that underscores my point. So, damn. Well, whatever, man. I do want to say we appreciate what you do. I've watched you from afar for a minute,
Thank you.
um, and you know, we developed this platform and everything like that. Like, it was like, oh, gotta get this brother on, man. Like, I fuck with your style, like because it's unique. I see a lot of b-boys, and I see a lot of carbon copies. That's what I see. And when I see you, I'm like, yo, this cat can rock, fuck up anything, fuck up any beat, anytime, any place. Like it's coming from here. So I just want to say genuinely, like, just on a dance tip, whatever. I appreciate you, man. Just everything that you've continued to do because you don't have no
Thank you.
fucking wife. So yeah, you know, I appreciate it, for real.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you, for real.
So we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna get this up on the YouTube channel. We thank you for rocking with us. This is episode 39 of the After Party. B-Boy YNOT holding it down, fucking making knives, designing buildings and houses and fucking you up. You know what I'm saying? In a battle near you. So we appreciate you, brother. Thank you again.
Hip hop for the future, man. 50 years is just a mark, but that you know, we still going past that. Trust.
Yeah, we got it. crushed that. So thanks again. You be well. We'll talk soon. Have a good one. Thank you. Peace.